Hello, my name is Emma Land, and this PowerPoint is on analyzing datasets on weed emergence. An important term to define before we begin this presentation is what exactly a weed is. A weed is going to be a plant with undesirable characteristics. So for instance, if we have a crop, say corn, and this corn has other plants that are growing up and taking away nutrients from our crop, then those are going to be considered as weeds. So when we go to first analyze different data sets, it can at first seem very overwhelming. So for this data set that we're going to be analyzing today, we have the treatment on the left, and then over here we have the 4 different weeds that the treatments were applied to. Now when we look at these, we want to look at the individual columns. The reason for this is because different controls are added to different columns. So here we see there's an A, B, and a C. The B's are going to be the same control group. The A's are going to be separate. When we get over here to the Johnson grass, it gets pretty overwhelming because you've got the A, B, the C, the D, the E, and the F. So when we're analyzing these, because they're all different control groups, we're going to be looking at the individual columns. So for instance, on the Palmer amaranth that are glyphosate susceptible, we're going to be looking, when we're comparing, at all of the B's because they're all within the same control group, and so they're all going to fall under the same category. When we begin to look, we can see the Palmer amaranth that is glyphosate susceptible. So for this, we're looking at 3 different types of application. We see the Roundup PowerMax, the Liberty Plus AMS, and the Engenia. So all of these different treatments are having the same effects on approximately the same effects. We can see it's 90 to 94% is the effect that they're having on post-emergent weeds. When we say post-emergent weeds, we mean weeds that are springing up after the plants are already starting to grow up. So when we apply the treatment, it's happening after we actually see the weeds instead of before we see the weeds, which would be pre-emergence. So since we see the statistics are similar on the application, the most important thing to look at after this is the price. For instance, the Roundup PowerMax is going to be treated at $4 an acre. The Liberty is going to be treated at $13 an acre, and the Engenia is going to be treated at $10 an acre. So when we see that they all have the same effect on the weeds, what we would want to go with is the Roundup Premium because the price is the lowest. So similarly, when we're looking at the Palmer amaranth that is resistant, we see a 90% effectiveness across these 3 treatment plans: the Liberty Plus AMS, the Engenia, and the Roundup PowerMax Plus Engenia. So when we're looking at these, it's similar as to the last slide because we're looking at the same control groups. So with this one, it is the same exact as the previous slide. We're going to go with the price that is the less expensive. Now, when we turn to look at this slide, this is an example of what not to do with comparing. So what we did here was we compared the Engenia with the Roundup PowerMax Plus Engenia. But what we did is we were looking at separate control groups when we were comparing these. So that makes it less effective. So in that instance, if we're having different control groups, then say one that sees a lot of sun versus one that doesn't see very much sun at all. When we're testing out those 2 different control groups, then what happens is if we're buying the different treatment plans based off of price, we could be actually buying an incorrect treatment plan for the actual weed. So that is what makes it really important when we're analyzing these data sets to make sure that we're looking at the correct control groups and analyzing the data within those particular control groups. Thank you.